Paul, Coach.
Hello, everybody. We're ready to continue on with Coach Smart. We'll go right to questions, and let's start out with Chip Towers and then Dean Legge.
Hi, Coach. Good to see you.
Yep, good to see y'all.
Hey, it was kind of a little bit of a funny moment earlier when Kirby was talking about getting to know all the new guys, and he forgot, one of them's name. Obviously, there's new faces every year, especially in your business. But I just wonder, do you ever struggle with that, or do you still do the names on the helmet with tape thing? And but you do, or you get more time with them in the summer now. So is it not that difficult, really?
Yeah, we've really stressed and kind of emphasized connection. And, to be honest, in spring ball, we had, 16 mid-years. So there's not a lot of new additions. When you add in, 3-4 scholarship guys and some new preferred walk-on guys, some guys that made camp for the first time, it's probably the smallest new group that we've ever had. And even though it's new, we've had them all summer. So we get a lot of Cara time with them in the summer. So we get to spend more time with them now than we ever have.
Kirby, I wanted to ask about JT's confidence. You've seen him now for a year plus. And can you talk about his evolution as it relates to that while he was watching versus when he's now playing and the expected starter?
Yeah, I've really not seen a lot of difference in his confidence. He is, I think, to play the quarterback position, you have to be a confident person in and of itself. He's probably got more confidence for good reason from actual experience in the SEC, having played, than he had prior. But he didn't lack confidence, whether it's in his arm, his mind, any of that when he first got here. If anything, he probably lacked some confidence in his knee and trusting that. But confidence has not been something that he lacks in. I think his mental growth and maybe his confidence in his relationship with receivers and tight ends has improved. His relationships with the players, just sheer connection, has improved, which therefore has improved confidence. He feels much more confident that he can demand excellence when he knows somebody personally than walking out there and, you've been on Zoom with a team for 3 months, this time last year, and you didn't have that relationship. So he's in a much better position to be confident.
All right, let's go to Anthony Dasher and then Mike Griffith.
Hey, Coach, sorry about that. How much, as far as the football program is concerned, how much back to normal are you guys right now as in regards to COVID and the protocols, since the spring? And I know at the media days you said you guys were 85% vaccinated. Has that number changed?
Yeah, we're above 90%. Ron and his staff has done a tremendous job making sure guys feel comfortable getting the vaccination, and we feel really comfortable where we are. My goal is always to be 100% because I think it's the safest thing for our players. But in terms of back to normal, I would not say it's back to normal because it's not exactly normal. There's spikes going on across the country, in our state, and our hospital systems across the Southeastern Conference. It's scary. So we're being extremely smart, making good decisions with our players. Where we can adopt things that carried over from last year, we do that. With the vaccination rates we have, we feel confident that we're able to get a little closer at times in some meeting rooms, but we're trying to be smart about that. And I think Ron and his updates he gives us daily in staff meetings has helped us navigate that. But you're only as good as your last COVID test. So for us, we're trying to maintain a healthy status.
Kirby, could you give us an update on players, injuries? I know last time we talked, Don Blaylock was running straight line, but hadn't been cleared. We heard from Nakobe confirm he's healthy. Some of the other guys that had labrum and Rosemy Jack Saint coming off the sprained ankle.
Yeah, kind of the same spot we were in when I talked to you guys at media days about it. Dom is still not cleared 100%. He's walking through, he's jogging through, but he's not out there in competitive environment. Kieris is still the same. He's recovering, and he's doing a good job pushing himself back. Certainly, he has a very good understanding of our offense and knows what we want, but he's very involved in walkthroughs and practice. He's not able to go full speed. I don't know anybody else. MJ Sherman had a shoulder. He's cleared and back, just like Nakobe. If you ask me specifically, I'll answer, but I don't know who it is you're looking for. Marcus Roseme's good. He's out there. He's been doing everything. If you remember, he had a slight ankle sprain, I think, around media days, but he's back from that and doing great. And
Micah.
Micah's back, doing great, all cleared. Has been doing everything.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mark Weiser and then Seth Emerson.
Kirby, I want to ask you your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC in terms of the impact it will have on Georgia football specifically, and what you would like to see from the SEC in terms of scheduling for when they start to play.
Now, I hate to do this to you, Mark, but I'm so focused on this year that I'm not really. I promise you, I haven't wasted 1 second of thought on that. You know what I mean? Like I know that they're coming. I'm happy that they're coming. I think it's going to make our conference much stronger. I mean, they're 2 of the top 10 winningest programs in all of college football. So when you add that to what's already a pretty stout conference, I think it makes for a special, unique group, and it makes the SEC even that much more powerful. But I can assure you, every minute of my day is spent on this team right now, and I'm really not even thinking about it.
Kirby, speaking of scheduling, but for this year, when you went about scheduling this opener, Oregon, Clemson, or in 24 and so on, how much of it is just that's in order to schedule those teams, it has to be the opener? How much of it is the idea of a marquee opener like that gets the team a little more excited in the offseason and the lead up to it?
Yeah, it's really availability, Seth, to be honest with you. It was never about, oh man, I want to be the first game, or it's better to be the third game, or it's better to be the second game. I mean, in all honesty, strategically, it's availability. Like, how do we get in one of those games? Does it have to be the first one? Not necessarily. You know, why do they usually fall there? Because that's the furthest you can get away from your conference schedule, right? So the rigors of the conference schedule, you would prefer to not have that back to back. But you know, a lot of people say that the opening game affects your off-season workouts, and I don't disagree with that. But I also don't think we're going to work out any less or any less intense, regardless of who we're playing. So to me, the number one thing in those games is availability. How do we make it happen? What dates work for them? What dates work for us? And obviously, nobody's playing conference schedules usually from the jump. So we wanted to schedule them, and that's where they worked out to be.
All right, let's go to Charles Odom and then Jake Rowe.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a quick one on the NIL implementation. How do you feel that that period has started? And do you, I guess there's a recruiting angle to everything. Is this something that you are going to be using with recruits?
Yeah, we're not allowed to set up NIL deals, per the laws that we're governed by, and none of the schools in the SEC are. So we don't get involved in it. We ask our players to disclose what deals they have and what they're doing. We've educated them on how to go about good deals and how to avoid bad deals. And we spend a lot of time talking about focus on what you can control, and how you play dictates a lot of your NIL deals. But as far as us navigating it in recruiting, it comes up, people ask, but there's not a lot that we can control in that. So I don't get into it much.
Kirby, when a couple years ago, you were asked about Alabama and their offensive evolution. You were asked the same thing about LSU, and you pointed to the fact that they built their offenses around their strengths, which was wide receiver play and having explosive wideouts. Do you feel like you have the type of group there at your pass catching positions, at your wide receiver positions, for you guys to kind of make that same evolution?
Well, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but I think Alabama had 4 first rounders. Okay, I know they had them in separate years. I don't know that we have 4 first rounders at wideout, if that's what you're asking. I know LSU had 2 first round receivers on the team we played. Maybe it wasn't 2, maybe it was 1. I'm not sure where Jefferson went, but I do know that they had a first round back, a first round receiver, and the first overall quarterback. So I don't know how ours compare to that, because you can only know that after the fact. You can't compare it to before the fact, but I do know that having skilled players that can light up the scoreboard and score points is certainly critical. I think that we've been able to close the gap in terms of, if the standard was Alabama or LSU in terms of those offenses, we've probably closed that gap. But I don't know that we have 4 first rounders. No, I don't know if we have that.
All right, let's go to Brandon Sudge, and then see Jeff Schultz.
Hey, Kirby, I mean, can you kind of take me through how you guys go through this next month or so, kind of balancing, I guess, talking about the opener, looking at a little bit of film, and then also just working on yourself? I know obviously a lot of what preseason practice is kind of like improving like within the team itself, but how do you guys kind of balance that?
Yeah, there's no true balance for us. It's what we believe in. We believe camp should be physical, tough, work on your connection, strengthen the habits that we want to have as football players and men and just students at Georgia. We want to be on time for things. We want to handle things the right way. So your fall camp is an opportunity to strengthen that. We want to get tougher. We want to have physical, tough practices to build up for what's going to be a grind of a season. So we're really focused on us and camp, and not really anything to do with that first game. But there's nothing that we prepare for that in the off season, and then we prepare for that, probably a little over a week out, 9-10 days out. But right now the focus is camp, developing players, putting our players in the right seats to be successful, and create some toughness on our team. So the focus is us.
Kirby, notwithstanding what you said earlier about expansion, if you can indulge me with one follow-up. As somebody who grew up in the South, do you have any thoughts on the loss of regionalism in college football and where this is probably headed with expansion?
Yeah, I mean, I gave up regionalism a long time ago when they started talking about Instagram, Twitter, and it went away. Kids stayed closer to home in the past, right? So there was a regional effect. But as kids have been recruited, you look at the number of kids that have come to the Southeastern Conference from California, from out west, from Las Vegas, I mean, from up north. So the SEC all of a sudden had this explosion of recruiting area, and in turn it has naturally expanded because I feel like more parts of the country have wanted a part of the SEC and what it offers. And a lot of that was created through social media network, kids knowing kids. I mean, a kid from Texas can be best friends with a kid from Georgia, where 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, that wasn't going to be the case. So I do think the regionalism has gone away a little bit, but it's probably that way in every world, just like us being on the Zoom.
All right, let's go to Vance Levy, and then we'll check in with Mark Bradley.
Hey, Kirby, first of all, Lewis complimented Chip on his hair. So your fresh cut's looking good. You look like you could almost pass for a 39-year-old, which I'm sure you would take. And seriously, looking at the running back cores, as you look back at the last couple seasons, something that's sort of been a little lacking are the long game-changing runs. Is that a priority? I mean, I know it's a priority every year, but how do you work on that? And what's the difference between those 9-yard grinders and a 50-yard run that takes a team out of a game?
Well, I don't think our backs are any less talented last year or this year in terms of being able to have explosive runs. I certainly don't think we haven't had as many, and you have to say, okay, well, why is that? And, a lot of it has to do with the way people are playing us. How can we make them pay for playing us with extra people? And then how can we block their extra people at the second level? We've had probably just as many, what I call, 7, 8, 9-yard runs, but we haven't had the explosive we've had in the past. Most people would point to sheer speed of the backs, but that's not the case. Our guys are, just as fast now as they were when we had the other guys. we haven't been as explosive. And a lot of that is breaking tackles on the second level and being able to block downfield, get the second hit. One of the things that Miko and Riley and Jason Stanley and a lot of those wideouts we had, Javon even, with the second level blocks, and we got to continue to improve that. I think you have to be careful too. When you look at RPOs, there's a lot of RPOs have taken over some of college football. The receivers aren't running to block; they're running a route. So if a run breaks on an RPO, the receiver's not necessarily blocking downfield. And we coach them to turn and convert, but they've got a route structure and then they've got to go block. So you have to designate some runs that where you're going to go hit the safety and not hold him with a pass off of it.
Kirby, today you've already addressed COVID, Oklahoma and Texas, and NILs. Is there ever a time where you think this isn't really what I signed up for? Or when you're a head coach, do you sign up for everything?
Agree with everything you said. It's not what it used to be. And I don't even think it's the same as what it was when I signed up to be a head coach. And that's relatively recent. I think it's unfortunate, but I also think, as our commissioner said, times are changing, and when things change, you either adapt with them or you get passed by. So you're not going to get a complaint out of me. I certainly enjoy the joy of coaching much more than I do managing. And we find ourselves much more often now as managers than as coaches. And it's not what I got in the profession to do. I got in the profession to coach and affect people. And I think you always want to, when I start steering away from that, just like coming over to this Zoom today, I want to be getting ready for the practice and what I'm going to do in my meeting and how I'm going to prepare them. You got to deal with what you're dealt, and you got to have good time management skills so that you spend it with your players.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Allison, and then we'll go to Connor Riley.
Hey, sticking with the hair theme, Lewis Seam probably has the best hair on their roster, but he also shared his why with us. And he said that he was playing for his mom and his daughter. But he also talked about an area that he wanted to improve on, and he wanted to be more vocal on the field. And I just wanted to kind of discuss with you, how do you kind of coach a player to be more vocal on the field? Because I cover a lot of athletes who say they lead by example. So how do you make someone more vocal as a leader?
More confident, more experience doing it. So we've had, I think, 30 something sessions of skull sessions where guys break out in small groups. And we found that small groups bring more personality out. More guys are having an opportunity to talk because you're in smaller groups, and more guys are comfortable talking because you're in small groups. So I think you develop that through confidence and through practice. And we put a lot of practice into being vocal if you have the need to, and kind of holding the team and other members to a standard. And we've had a lot more buy-in through these small groups than we've had in the past. And it's been good for me because I get to float from meeting to meeting. And Lewis has led a lot of these meetings where he has to sit in front of them and he leads the meeting, not the coaches. And that's been really, really good for us.
Connor?
Sorry about that. Hey, Kirby, how does Arik Gilbert make you guys more dynamic on offense? And how do you go about getting him up to speed with him coming in over the summer so he can contribute as quickly as he can?
I think learning's the key. I mean, he's got to learn the system. He's got to understand what we're trying to do offensively. Words, I mean, we don't have a lot of different plays than the other place he was, but it may be called something different. So I would almost say vocabulary and learning, how we practice and how to learn our stuff at a fast rate. That's the key for him.
All right, let's go. We got time for maybe 2 or 3 more. Let's go to David Pascal and Palmer Toms.
Kirby, I'm sure there have been times throughout your coordinating career and coaching career where you look at a position and you're like, we are so inexperienced. With the transfer portal and with what you've gone through this year at corner, losing what you did and then adding what you did through the portal, do you think those days are over? I mean, you may have a lot of inexperience at a position, but that's obviously different from being so inexperienced.
No, I don't think the days are over. That's going to happen. I mean, if what if you don't get What if you don't get what you need out of the portal? What if you go to the grocery store and they're out? They don't have any ketchup and they don't have any, you got to play with what you got, So I think you're taking the assumption that you'll always get what you need. And I don't know that that's always the case. There's probably some positions that if we needed this year really bad at a certain position, we wouldn't have been able to, get what we needed, not in terms of experience or talent or whatever it is. So we have to do it from a recruiting base. I think everybody thinks that the portal's the answer and that, Georgia had to change their strategy, and there's no change in strategy. We want to get it right from the beginning. And I like developing players. So I like getting the right guy early on and grow that guy. There's a lot. Eric Stokes, Eric Stokes did not play his freshman year. Okay. He redshirted. All right. He was a first round pick. So there's, it's not to say that everybody that redshirts can be a first round pick, but there's scenarios out there where you grow and get better. And that's what we want to do in our organization. But we have a fallback, right? The fallback is if we have inexperience, then we have a chance to gain some experience through the portal. And I don't know if it's always going to be that way. You have to play, you have to be able to play with what you have.
Along those same lines with the guys coming out of the transfer portal, how have you seen them fitting in off the field, and how excited are you to see them in pads here before too long?
Yeah, I'm excited to see them get to work. I think they've been great additions. They've handled things very well. Our players have embraced them. We have a history here of guys that have come in and been really successful. And it started with Mo Smith long ago. We've had other guys come in. Cager came in. He's been successful. We've had guys come in and really help our program. And we do a good job through all the support staff, Jonas Jennings and his staff, Ron Corson and his staff, Scott Sinclair and his staff. Everybody embraces new people, and we approach it professionally. This guy's here to benefit our team. And ultimately, the team wants to win. So if someone can benefit our team, we're going to help them. They're part of our family. And we spent a lot of time together this offseason, this summer, getting to know those guys so that when we hit the field, there's relationships there.
All right, we got time for one more question. Let's go to Lance McCurley.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is there any separation between Brock Carson and Stetson in terms of the backup QB position heading into fall camp?
Well, I would judge fall camp based on kind of a continuum. So we've got 24, 25 practices. We're going to get to watch those guys grow, compete, see what they do, see them develop. We're going to move those guys around some. And I think each one has their own strengths. We're very excited about Carson and the growth he's made since being here. Brock, for a guy just to come in the spring and get all this thrown at him this quick. You got to remember, Carson didn't really get this because Carson went through COVID and we didn't have this time for him to learn it in the spring. So see Brock absorb all this information and study really hard. And he's so diligent at studying. He's growing fast. And then Stetson understands it. Stetson knows our offense. He got a lot of reps last year and he's helped the other quarterbacks in the room. So each one has taken on their role the right kind of way in terms of our team.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.